So continuing on with our lesson, graphing from the general form is very difficult and inefficient. To make graphing easier, is there a way to change the general form into the vertex form? Yes. And the process is called completing the square. Now you may be wondering what completing the square is, but completing the square is forcing the algebra so that you have a squared factor in your expression, like I've highlighted above 1.2b. So completing the square takes some expression like x squared plus bx and moves it into x minus d squared. So for instance, perhaps I'm going to start off with, if I have x plus c, I'm going to create a square factor, x plus c squared. And when we multiply out, we get x plus c times x plus c. And if I expand this further, I get x squared plus cx plus cx plus c squared. I'll get rid of an extra bracket that I didn't mean to have. And if I continue, I get x squared plus 2cx plus c squared. In other words, to create a perfect squared factor, that is x plus c squared, I need to have a trinomial that is in the form of x squared plus 2cx plus c squared. So what's going to happen? I'm going to isolate the x's, x squared plus bx. I'm going to isolate that somehow. And then I am going to add a constant so that it turns it into a perfect squared factor. Might take some getting used to. So let's see. Let's take a look right here. Really, what we have to do is, if this is my coefficient in front of the x, I have to take half of that and square it. So let's play a game called completing the square. X squared plus 6x. What number am I going to add here to make it a perfect square? Well, remember, I'm going to take half of this number, so I'm just going to work, so 6 divided by 2 squared. So that's 3 squared. I guess that's 9. The number that I would add is 9. And wouldn't you know it, that this is a perfect square. And the perfect squared factor is x plus 3 squared. What number would I add here? Well, I take a look at my coefficient, 8. I take half of 8, so I'm going to go 8 times a half, and then I'm going to square that. Half of 8 is 4 squared, and that is really 16. So here I'm going to add 16. If you factor x squared plus 8x plus 16, you'll notice that it is a perfect square factor, and that is x plus 4 squared. Neat. This next one, I'm going to take a look at my coefficient, and that coefficient is -2. So I simply take half of -2, and by now I'm able to do this in my head. That's -1 squared. The number that I'm going to add is 1. So x squared minus 2 plus 1 is a perfect squared trinomial. And it's perfect square simply because we can factor it. And we factor it into this result, x minus 1 squared. Now, please try these.